Our next story is about India's expanding military footprint, a new posture in the South China Sea. An Indian ship is docked in Manila. It is called the INS Kadmatt. It's an Indian warship, and it's there on what's being called a goodwill visit. It will join a military drill in the West Philippine Sea. Now look at the timing and the setting. This is a tense region. China is at loggerheads with its neighbors. Its warships are ramming into other vessels. We told you about the collision over the weekend. One Philippine ship was hit by a Chinese vessel, another was fired at with water cannons. Tensions are on the rise here all over the South China Sea. A disputed region with 6 players. China, which claims almost the entire region. Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Taiwan and the Philippines. They claim different parts. And they're all being bullied and threatened by China. Now it seems India is stepping up. India's envoy in Manila has spoken. He says they have shared interests. Both want stability and peace. And these shared interests are driving India's engagements. The diplomat said, and I'm quoting, India will continue a strong Navy and maritime security engagement. Not just with the Philippines. India is part of drills with Vietnam too. They kicked off this week in Hanoi. 45 Indian officers are in Vietnam for this drill, an 11-day-long military exercise. The goal is to improve interoperability. And this has been a growing trend, India's military engagements, with a special focus on the South China Sea. It started some 4 years ago. The Indian Navy went for a drill in the South China Sea, their first joint military exercise. The other participants included Japan, the Philippines and the US. In 2020, they joined another drill with Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Australia and Indonesia. All of these were part of that drill. And these exercises are important. They show India's expanding role, its rise as a regional power and a security provider. And this is underscored by recent defense deals too. There is great interest in the BrahMos missile. The Philippines bought 100 of them in 2022, 100 BrahMos missile. Vietnam is also looking at buying them. It has already invested in Indian frigates. The first one was delivered in June this year, the first Indian frigate to Vietnam. In fact, last year, India's defense minister was in Vietnam. He handed over 12 high-speed guard boats to Hanoi. And for this project, India gave a line of credit to Vietnam worth $100 million. So you could say that India helped Vietnam pay for these boats. And this deal serves as a model, a template for future agreements. But more importantly, it sends a message to China. India is now actively involved in the South China Sea, and this is driven by self-interest. India wants to ensure freedom of navigation so that key shipping lanes are open and trade routes remain accessible. India also wants vital natural resources to be protected, like oil and gas. But New Delhi's biggest concern is security. China wants to usurp territory that belongs to others, both on land and in the waters. And this leads to constant friction. It raises the risk of conflict. But India wants to prevent a war. Southeast Asia is a gateway for the Indian Ocean. A conflict here will hurt our interests. It will have an impact on India's trade exchanges, on energy investments, maritime borders. The flow of goods would be disrupted. India has energy investments in Vietnam. An exploration deal was sealed in the month of August. It gives India access to an oil block in this region. If there is war, this access could be hampered. Hence all these moves to dial down tensions and to keep China in check.